Welcome back. We're going into our final match of day one here at OGN's Vainglory International Premier League. We had a closer match than an extremely one-sided match. Yeah. And now, to round it out, two Korean teams from Group C. It will be Raid versus Hack. Both of these teams coming up through the qualifier. We don't know much about them, and we'll see what they have to show.
I mean, like I said before, these qualifiers must have been very, very hard. You guys got a shot of how many people were actually there playing on all the tables and stuff. It's, I think these guys are going to come out and be very good. I wouldn't expect them to, be at much of a lower level. I would assume like there were some teams that were like, hey, $80,000, first place, 40 grand. Let's try. Like, I play League of Legends, I play Dota 2, but, those teams probably got knocked out, whereas the guys who've been playing for much, much longer are probably going to take it.
Well, we know that happened because some old players like Woog and Rabbitstar didn't make it, but these guys did. And let's take a look at our teams here in the arena. So it looks like we will be starting with Team Raid on this side of the studio. Now, it has to be said, these guys, probably the underdogs here just based on solo queue rank. They don't have any Vainglorious players. We've got two on the other side on Hack. But maybe they just haven't had enough time to hit that rank yet.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the teams here have players that are in pinnacle of awesome POA, as you guys do see there. The tier below Vainglorious, which is the highest. But even, I think Hunters as well has a couple of pinnacle of awesome guys. But, they're still great players. So we'll see. I've heard that it's very, very hard to get up to Vainglorious. So.
Okay, well, here's Dista after we took a look at Spell. Dista is actually a hairdresser, his day job. So it's one of his.
He's got some pretty sick hair as well.
He's got some nice hair. He's repping his profession pretty well right there. He is the jungler for this Raid team. And finally, we will be looking at Liege, the lane player who had some Ringo games, unsurprisingly, in the qualifiers for this International Premier League.
Yeah, apparently he's in the Invincible Armada Guild. I'm not sure exactly what that means.
Invincible Armada is a huge guild here, and Invincible Armada, the team, is their top team that they field in professional competition. So there are a bunch of Korean players who are part of the guild that are having to use different team names to actually compete here.
Yeah, will be interesting if we ever do get to see this team go up against Invincible Armada. We'll see if they know each other a bit better. I'm sure they will.
And Hack, our other team representing Korea. And a couple Vainglorious players in Vaga and Plex.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, they also do have a sub. I don't believe he's playing today, but maybe in the future.
Got a phone player right here, Plex.
Oh boy.
Coming in for the roam position, playing exclusively Adagio in the qualifiers. And then Vaga here, their jungler, who is actually his day job. He works at a semiconductor company here in Korea. And he wants to donate the prize money to those in need.
Oh boy. Let's just give him the money now. Like, let's not even play the tournament. All the other guys are gonna not have as good a reason, I suppose.
And the final player will be Galaxy the laner. Interestingly, mixing it up, Celeste in the qualifiers. A hero we have not yet seen today, but is considered top tier when it comes to laners these days.
Especially if Ringo is banned out, you will see them most likely pick Celeste. If not, I guess Fox.
Scarf.
Another guy, Scarf.
Scarf had some buffs, so maybe we might see that. There was only one Scarf pick in the entirety of the qualifiers, but with the recent buffs coming in, that may be an attractive option.
Yeah, we'll see. We're back on the camera.
We're back again, so it looks like we are going to be waiting before we can get into the draft once again. Well, I'm excited to see these new teams. We have some rather known quantities in our last couple of matches, teams that we have seen on this stage at OGN before, but this is where we may see some new talent really start to rise between the Worldwide Invitational and the Premier League now.
Yeah, especially this Team Hack, the two Vainglorious players. As I said before, it's very, very hard to get up there. Very hard. A lot of these players on the pro teams, professional teams, are not even there. So you know, it definitely does speak to the newness of the league and of Vainglory getting big in Korea as well. But at the same time, you know, 2 Vainglorious players here on Hack. I'm very curious to see how they're going to do.
Yeah, and part of the reason why it is so hard to get Vainglorious here in Korea is it's not just a Korean server. It's an East Asian server. So, you know, we know there are a lot of Chinese players. We know there are very high-level Japanese teams even taking second place at the Invitational. So this is it's a big mix of players all fighting for that top tier.
Yeah. I believe the server is actually in Japan as well. Yeah. So, you know, of course, Japan not really known for their PC gaming, but mobile gaming, I mean, for sure. They're playing. They've got great teams. And maybe in the future we'll have some of them over here. Would be awesome.
For the second time, yeah. Yeah, it should be. I'm really sad. I mean, you mentioned this earlier that Divine Brothers isn't here. They really showed up the last time, but it's a big commitment to come out here for multiple weeks for a long tournament as opposed to a shorter, more several-day event like the Worldwide Invitational was. The broadcast was stretched out, but it was all recorded in a very tight timeline.
Like one weekend or something, maybe 3 or 4 days. But, you know, as you said before, it's very hard to commit to actually going over to a foreign country, getting all the, you know, the living spaces up and, you know, maybe not being comfortable with the new culture. But a lot of these guys also have jobs. As we said before, a hairdresser, a semi-conductor, a company man, like... he's playing Vainglory. He's here. He's a pro Vainglory player, I guess you can call him. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I wonder what the mix is going to be because are we going to see more dedicated gaming houses? I know a lot of these guys have said, man, if we can get some money for some prize money, we want to set up a gaming house. This is what we want to do. We want to play this game full-time professionally, just need the raw funds to do it.
Oh, yeah.
But with the amount of money in this tournament, it can sustain you for a long time.
Yeah, it's $40,000, as we said before, for first place, second place, third place, even a lot of money in there. So I think there was one guy actually who was, the guy here, Spell for Raid, said that he did want to make he actually said that he wanted to make a team house for his team to actually continue being a Vainglory professional.
Yeah, so. I think they're going to have a little bit of an uphill battle, just from what we've seen from Hack. Goodbye.
Oops. Getting used to the OGN, seriously.
You probably shouldn't pull on random levers on broadcast.
Yeah, well,
just a tip.
My leg, you know, just likes it's got a mind of its own. I can't really control it. Oh man.
We're just gonna give you just a chair that bounces like a lowrider from now on.
Yeah.
Just blast some music.
This chair is actually pretty bouncy. So. Oh man, I'm having a lot of fun actually. This is my first time casting with you, Monte Cristo.
Yeah,
it's been so much fun so far.
Yeah, and if you guys don't know, of course, Valdez here. You can catch him over on SPO TV doing some StarCraft Pro League action.
Yeah, we do Pro League and Star League over there for SPO TV. So. A lot of fun doing that, but over here doing a MOBA where I started my casting career.
That's right.
Kind of fun. It's a lot of fun.
It is. So it looks like we may be having some issues with Galaxy at the moment as we're waiting to get into this game and try and re-invite him here. You have a timeout on that invitation, but
yeah,
like
actually the same spot that Caldameek was in where he had his problems. So maybe there's something up with the desk. I'm sure that will get fixed eventually.
I'm looking forward to seeing Celeste, though. I'm really hoping that we are going to see some Celeste play today because she's much different than a lot of the other laners. Of course, looking at a very long-range kit where you have to lay down the heliogenesis, much more about zone control.
Oh, yeah.
And thinking ahead about how you're going to use your abilities, because on the core collapse, it's a delayed stun. On the heliogenesis, it's a delayed spawn for that damage on the star, and it's just the setup is so important for Celeste in a way that it isn't on a lot of other heroes.
Yeah, even as you said, the heliogenesis, you lay one down, you create that star, but the next one is going to be extra damage. It's got a big radius. So even just preparing that, I think it stays down for something like 15 seconds, 20 seconds about. Just from my experience playing Celeste. I actually love Celeste. I play her a lot in the lane there if I have to play lane. So
yeah,
definitely a very strong champion, but can be heavily countered by heroes that love to get in your face, like right on top of you, like Taka mainly. Like if I ever play Celeste and Taka's in the game against me, I'm like, oh, I don't know, man. Because you lay down the core collapse on yourself, but he just jumps around it and dodges it with his A. So it's kind of kind of scary. We'll see. Maybe, you know, as we said before, it's blind pick. Maybe they'll blind pick Ataka against the Celeste if they've done their research.
I imagine they've probably done a little bit of research based on these players and these teams. Looks like the actual issue is with Dista, like you said, in the same seat that we saw over there from Coldamique. But
it seems like everything is set and ready, though. Looks like we will get into ban pick eventually here.
Just re-inviting some of the players right now, but let's get into this draft. Eventually. I got excited, Valdez.
Yeah, I just want to jump into the game, and I want to see what they pick, actually.
Nope. We're still waiting for Dista to get into this. Oh, we did it.
Go.
We did it, boys. We're in to the final draft of the day. And, of course, those bands, interesting, Kroll and Scarf. Those were not bands I expected to see, Valdez.
Kind of strange, actually. I think, yeah, it's very weird because team down near Hack in the bottom of the screen, they actually banned out the Kroll, but they're the one that actually played Kroll twice in the qualifier. So, I don't know.
It's also just not a champ. Neither of these are heroes that we saw actively played.
Yeah.
They weren't the most common heroes. We have all of the ban picks from the qualifiers. And finally, of course, we will see the lock-in down.
Jungle Adagio.
Yeah, it looks like that will be... I wonder what they're going to load the gold onto, whether it be the Catherine or the Adagio. And we're finalizing our picks for Raid up on the top side of your screen right now.
Now, seems like Spell couldn't hear, but it looks like it's all set and ready to go.
All right, well, let's get into the game.
Has begun.
Welcome to the first match of Group C here on the Vainglory International Premier League on OGN. And we do have Raid versus Hack going at it. We have two mirror matches, actually, Vox and Catherine, picked by both teams. Meanwhile, this will be the Adagio and the Ringo.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see, actually, how this Jungle Adagio is going to go. And as well, even on the side of Raid, we're going to have a lot of weapon damage coming out here. We'll see, though, if Spell does go for that weapon damage build, or maybe he'll go Crystal.
I think, well, you have to go for some more Crystal here, I think. Just going for the attack speed, most of your damage is going to be coming out as Crystal anyway. So, looks like both Catherines will be getting the Iron Guard contract. And
a bit of a pause.
Yeah, looks like we have a pause here coming through. Some issues. Perhaps
playing on the
with
phone. The phone is lagging. Can't handle the heat. I'm sure it runs fine. Don't want to discourage you guys. Definitely download it on your phone, your tablet, whatever you've got, because it's a great game. It's very, very fun.
Yeah,
as you said before, it's new, it's different. You know, it's a bit weird in your mind. You're like, a MOBA on a phone or a tablet? Like, how do I even do that? But trust me, once you play, it's a lot of fun. It's very, very fun.
Really quite good. Well, I mean, what we're seeing already, pretty standard starts here, just attack speed on both of our Voxes. And you know, with one of these Voxes in the jungle position, this is another hero where we're going to see how the item builds start to diverge, if they do at all. And the Adagio, too. What is he going to do with all of that gold, considering that he will be the jungler over on Hack? Yeah. And the thing about Adagio is that he can really give himself a lot of auto attack bonuses. He really buffs himself up nicely. So how will he use that Agent of Wrath? Because if he puts it on himself, he gets more than if he puts it on an ally.
So he 70%.
Yes, as opposed to 50% as if you put it on an ally.
It's pretty out of control. You see sometimes Adagio is more of that roam position. Usually, you get the heal down, you buy those support items, but sometimes in the lane, even and in the jungle, you can really output a lot of damage for sure.
Yeah, and that's what I really like about Adagio is that you have that choice. You can play for the more support role, but if you decide to actually buy damage items yourself, well then, you could. The self buff is even better if you want to be that carry. So there's a lot of divergence in terms of how you want to play this particular hero.
Yeah, I remember even talking to the devs about this. They were surprised that Adagio was played with like a ton of attack speed. They're like, we didn't even intend for that to happen, but this is so cool that these guys are figuring out how to play our game even better than we designed it. Like even outside of what we tried to design, like they didn't even think about it. But it makes so much sense, you know? If you have that on-hit applier, multiplier, you know, whatever, you can really get a ton of damage down.
Yeah, what I like too about him is that if you use the Gift of Fire on yourself, you can kite, because if somebody's trying to get onto you, it'll apply that AoE slow around you so that you don't need quite so much peel from the rest of your team while healing you at the same time.
It's a pretty ridiculous slow as well. I think it's like 70%. 70%. Yeah, it's up there. You're essentially walking in quicksand when you get hit with that. So, and just to say as well, when you use it on allies, it doesn't slow. It just heals.
Heals.
Does do that dot damage as well to the enemies.
Okay, well, we're back in the game now, as we can see, and there's the first gank going to be coming in. He missed the stun. He actually hit the minion with it, so that's going to be Liege just backing out.
Yeah, that was very interesting. Yeah, if he landed the stun, that guy would have been dead, but a bit of a mistake.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, tap? No. I don't know what to say. I'm not sure what I mistouch.
A mistouch, yeah. That makes sense.
There's no clicking here, but that was a mechanical error.
Yeah. Well, you know, some of these teams coming out of the qualifiers maybe not as practiced as the quote-unquote pro teams that were invited to the invitation. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yep. One Blazing Salvo already done onto Spell, so looks like going to just see some attack speed. And you know, Vox is just, he's so naturally made to get the attack speed that he doesn't have as much versatility, especially in his early build. If you want to just start shattering people with the Resonance Bounce AoE autos, it's much more efficient just to go for straight up attack speed early.
And you were right, he is going to move straight into that crystal damage, maybe pick up an alternating current.
Yeah, I think that's
built.
I think that's pretty much required for Vox right now. It does so much for the synergy in his kit, because it'll empower his autos and it gives him the attack speed he needs. There's not really I think a better item for that.
Yeah.
Those two abilities at the moment.
For sure. And just a bit more passive farming here. Reed getting a bit of a lead. Somehow, not sure how that happened actually. Maybe just a bit more efficient with their farming. We did see a failed gank come out of Hack, so maybe at that time Reed was just farming up, getting that gold.
Well, we do see, of course, Liege opening up with a pretty large difference when it comes to farm. He's already at almost double, so the last hitting just better. 4 raids so far.
Yeah, that's a big point, actually. That makes a huge difference. Do you see the two jungles are pretty neck and neck here, 19 and 19, 20 there for Fox. Looking for another gank here in the lane now. Yeah,
they're trying to bait the all-in from Liege, but Liege doesn't have any energy, so I don't think he's really going to be biting on that one too quick, and indeed he will not. Just pulls the minion wave up to farm out the rest of it as Hack moves down for a buy at the shop.
I like how active Hack is being, actually. Just very teamwork-oriented, always together. Very, you know, practiced, it seems. Like they go up for a gank and then they move down as 3. They look for a fight as 3, maybe a 3-on-2 fight there in the jungle. But if not, you know, they send up the flare in the bush, they see no one, they just buy. And they go back and they just continue farming.
It's coming at the price of some of that farm, though. Again, Liege is getting a rather scary lead right now as the 6-star and the heavy steel already. Meanwhile, just Blazing Salvo for Vaga. Maybe safe, but I think the question is it a little bit too safe right now? They're going for another gank right here, and it's going to come in. Here comes Plex, gets the gift of fire down. There's the stun follow-up coming in from Catherine, but they're not quite going to get the kill. Gift of fire will not burn him down.
Using the helipod too. Oh, nice couple of shots going too far in the lane there.
I got a little cocky, didn't respect. They didn't have a scout trap in that brush, so they couldn't see. They were sticking around. They're going to go for the gold miner immediately. Spell and Dista want to interrupt. And how's this going to go? Resonance has been applied here by Spell. Galaxy's just going to have to back off. And that's getting very low. Who's going to get it?
Oh, looks like Box. Spell.
Yeah, Spell stole it at the end. So nice little bit of gold. And they're going to get Dista out in time. Vaga gets caught as Liege has respawned, is back in the mix. Uses that twirling silver. I don't think he's going to catch up to the Adagio.
You know, Hack, they, as I said before, very teamwork oriented, but overall, I think the mechanics are just not really there. It's almost like they're trying too hard. They're like, okay, we killed one guy, now we got to get the gold miner, but with two people up and Box hitting 6 on the side of Raid, you see the wait for it, the ultimate come out, and was just able to do enough damage. Then we saw Hack chase, you know, across the map and lose another guy there. Just they want it too badly, Monte Cristo.
I think they do. They are definitely overextending, and yeah, this is interesting because we talked earlier in the match that Hack has these vainglorious players and Raid does not, but Raid already with an early lead, so performing well in spite of their solo queue tier.
Solo queue tier is not everything.
Definitely is not.
Especially because then the game is relatively new. I think it came out in November 2014.
Yep. So here we go. A little bit more skirmishing right there. Vaga is catching back up when it comes, or I suppose the difference has not increased, so I should say that. But he's not falling further and further behind at the moment.
Some Farm fans coming out to the audience. Nice to see you guys.
Always good.
Can't hear me.
Always good. Okay, so triggering a scout trap, not going to take any damage as Hack just starts to pop some mines. Making a move perhaps on the gold miner, a bit risky though, with everybody milling around that 50-yard line. Applying some resonance, gets the sonic zoom double tap onto Liege, but not very much damage right now. Vox, again, we talked about it earlier, but needs some items to really get rolling. He's a bit of a ramp hero, but once he gets those items and he gets in the late game, the AoE is crazy.
Yeah, I think both of these teams very much focused on that late game. Even the build here from Adagio, the weapon damage build coming out from him. And of course, you do have both Vox and Ringo there on the side of Raid, going to be looking to get a lot of items, maybe 2 or 3 before they really get super strong.
Indeed. So, mass recall here from Hack, going back to get the buys, and there's the first major completion onto Vaga. So we'll have that buffed up auto attack right now.
Lose that alternating current. Also picks up the crystal infusion. See that a lot of times. The buff from that is just so gigantic that you might as well. It's worth the gold.
They're trying to come in on him. They're not going to catch Liege. He burns his boot active right there just to escape the gank. And he'll take a little bit of scout trap damage, but otherwise just a nice clear. And Liege, a little bit nervous for him, playing very close to that brush where Catherine was hiding.
Yeah, but not going to bite the bait. Do see Hack thinking about that gold miner, but they really can't at this point.
Want it, but here we go. Decent, maybe getting a little bit too close to the brush. There's the ult coming in from Spell, but it's not going to really hit anybody. Galaxy now has to back off, and that burst of judgment will do absolutely nothing from Plex, as we don't see that Raid was willing to commit. Uh-oh, Dista gets chunked out a little bit more. Plex is here, and a face check of that brush will not yield nice things, and they nearly take out Spell as well.
Here comes the Hellfire Brew.
And there's the reflex block, not going to take too much damage. Liege now getting chased down. Galaxy really doesn't have any damage of his own. He's basically a crowd control bot. He will fall, but the gold miner's going to come through at the very least. So Hack, that's a good trade for them.
Yeah, definitely a good trade, but kind of a weird fight overall. A lot of face checks, a lot of missed ultimates, and overall, look at this. Leeds once again getting a little bit too far, but barely stays alive.
Yeah, the pot going to keep him topped up just enough that Liege will not fall there in the lane.
Well, as we do have some downtime, taking out the item builds here, you do see one big difference for both the Catherines on the team. You do see Fountain of Renewal over there on Hack's side, and for Raid, can't see the names right now, but he's picked up a Crucible instead.
Yeah, Dista grabbing that Crucible, so just looking for a little bit more sustain from Hack, whereas more of just the barrier coming in, the mass reflex block for your team from the Crucible.
Yeah, I think it's a big deal, especially against an Adagio. There's a lot of different abilities that you're going to want to reflex block, not take the stun, even from Catherine, even the silence from Vox, something to think about.
Okay, well, Hack coming back into lane right now. Clean up some of these minions. Liege still commanding. He actually has expanded that minion lead right now, so he's quite rich. And now the Invade will go through. They're going to catch out Spell with the Catherine stun. Burst of Judgment goes down. Not going to land that stun, but Spell's still going to fall. Liege wants to clean up this fight. He's running through, grabs one, and there is two. Liege played that really well. Ult from Catherine not going to save her as Dista gets the final say in that fight. Wow, those were some nice Ringo mechanics from Liege.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of auto animation cancels as he takes that fight.
Oh yeah, for sure. If you played the game before, you can even tell it just a bit better by looking at his play. As you were saying, the attack animation canceled a lot of times there from Liege. Definitely a great Ringo player. He's going for that Sorrow Blade build, just looking to get that heavy sustained damage, not the burst damage. As we did see a little bit earlier on from Iraqi with the tension bow, a little bit different.
Yeah, that is a bit of a mix-up. Raid will take the 168 gold payout from the miner. So Raid now making that lead grow even more. And Hack looks a bit discombobulated here. So their next move on the map is going to be.
Also want to mention we do have a kinetic shield pickup here from Liege. Maybe thinking about that Fountain of Renewal as well. He's going to have to pick up the Life Spring just in a bit, but more concerned about the Vox damage and the Catherine damage more so than the Adagio, I suppose.
Yeah, that's a bit curious. This Adagio is going to hit like a truck, and there's Galaxy going to come in, not able to quite hit the stun from Catherine, but does zone him out. And ooh, the recall's coming down in the nick of time. Hack nearly catching out the members of Raid. They will use this opportunity. They know that there's no one there to contest this, so just go ahead and take that gold miner. Liege again trying to kite out. Has to use his boot active. Make sure he gets out of the attempt at the gank.
Yeah. Ringo can definitely do a lot of damage if you're not careful. The kiting ability with the slow and just the immense damage that comes out. Of course, the trade-off is that he's very squishy, but he attempts to not let you get too close. Very fun hero.
Yeah. The other issue with Ringo is that if you're not very smart with how you use his abilities, he runs out of energy really fast.
Oh, yeah.
You have to be judicious in the use of his kit.
Judicious, huh?
Yeah, judicious.
We do have a breaking point actually picked up by the Ringo as well.
It is a very different build, so he's going to go for some armor shredding instead. And yeah, like you said, the Sorrow Blade and the breaking point, this says that he wants to just fight continuously in a battle and get a lot of auto attacks in, not that burst. They're going to catch out Faga. He is just dead to rights. And that'll be it for him. Easy gank there from Raid. Now, how far are they going to push down onto this turret?
I think they should be able to get it. I don't think there's much that Hack can do to defend this. They're going to try. And Catherine, Dista getting pretty low here. Look at the damage coming out from Adagio. Jeez.
Yeah, has to prop the Crucible just for a little bit of barrier. And there's Galaxy coming back with the ult, trying to convince Liege, doesn't want to auto. Liege is going to take the turret with an Achilles shot, has to run away right after. Boots again used. He's going to fall. Plex is still pretty problematic. Verse of Judgment coming down. That's going to be a stun and a kill. And now Dista is going to pay with his life there too. Plex comes on through, going to start putting the turret damage down. See how fast those autos are now.
Oh yeah. The Fountain of Renewal just barely keeping him alive against the bounce damage off of Catherine. Oh boy. Yeah. Now they're going to be able to get the second turret, it looks like, as well.
Hack coming in with a pretty impressive comeback. Plex doing a good job. And can they clean this up? Liege decides, no, not going to follow up on the slow.
Now Kraken has spawned at the 15-minute mark. Will Hack make a move for it? Doesn't look like it just yet. Vaga pretty low.
Yeah, it's playing around it right now, making sure they have sufficient scout traps. They will need to recall at some point to top up on that HP. Well, Raid going to take a look too. See if they can clear out any of these traps. They will. Dista taking a little bit of punishment for it, but nothing to be overly concerned about. Now they're going to re-trap that Kraken location.
Yep. That is the main objective right now, so you have to have a lot of vision and make sure the other team is not taking it. Maybe you can go for a steal at times, depending on which heroes you do have.
And we haven't really talked about scout traps yet, but to explain them, they give vision in brushes and around the scout traps. If you walk over them, obviously they trigger and after a delay will explode and deal damage. They also see invisible heroes like Taka. If you're new to the game, getting those in choke points and in brushes is very important so you can get the maximum amount of information. There's also the flare gun, which will peek into, give you vision in brushes at range.
Yep. Look at this, setting up now to take a fight towards the minion mine. They're actually going to take it here, Hack will, and just back off. So they're going to have both minion mines here looking to put on the pressure, possibly get this Kraken as well.
This is about that time where we, you know, it's usually around Kraken spawn that we see the minion miners taken. That's when you really want to start. After you get a couple turrets down, go ahead, play with the wave a little bit, push it forward so that you have control over that area, because getting control over the enemy team's tri-brush is one of the crucial points to taking Kraken. And for executing ganks like this, Galaxy going to come around. Liege uses that twirling silver, but they're split up. They're going to collapse on the opposite flank right now. There's the ult coming in from Catherine, trying to slow him down. Liege, can he clean up this fight? Going after Plex. How accurate it's going to be. Scout trap dropped in the middle of the fight. Liege going to take that damage after he's stunned. Nice stun from Galaxy. It's not going to be enough though. They're chasing this one. Achilles shot and a final auto from Liege to grab the kill.
Very nicely done there by Liege, for sure. We've seen so far in all of these games Ringo making a huge dent in all the enemy teams here. And funnily enough, they do get the ace here, but not going to use the buff at all. Not going to go for a turret, not going to go for Kraken, just going to farm up a bit.
Yeah, that is a bit curious to me, considering their advantage, but some shopping down by Catherine.
I think they may have been able to get Kraken.
I think
maybe they felt like they couldn't follow up with the push.
I think when you have as much gold as you do concentrated onto this Ringo, that you probably could have gotten that. Dista, he's got enough tanky stats right now, both Crucible and Fountain of Renewal finished. I don't know. Seems like a bit of a close call, but especially when you ace the enemy team, you get a big regen buff to your health too. So
another big thing to note.
That's curious. I agree with you, Valdez.
Yeah. Maybe they just felt like it's too early on. Maybe they want to get the second turret down the lane so they can have a bit of a better Kraken push, because as we said before, if the enemy team does kill the Kraken, you get 500 gold. So.
All right, well, we're squaring off here. Hack and Raid on opposite sides of the wall. Plex will put down a tiny amount of damage. Nothing too much yet. And there's Liege getting caught out. Dista gonna ult from Galaxy 2. Versus Judgment will stun Dista. Now we see Liege. He's coming in. He knows the crowd control is down. How much damage can he do? He's got to take out Vaga first. Galaxy going to fall next. And there goes Plex. They grab the Vox in the end, so Spell will pay for it, and now they are going to push with this ace.
Yeah, it seems like they are finally going to go for an objective here, going for the tower, not going for Kraken just yet. Not the best fight, to be honest, from Hack. A lot of focusing there onto Catherine, which is the big tanky roam hero. Even Adagio using the Burst of Judgment, his ultimate ability on it, trying to get the stun after the heal, but even so, like, well, just, I don't know.
It absolutely opened up the team fight, too, for Liege to come through, because once he saw the Catherine stun down, the Catherine ult down, he saw the Verse of Judgment, the Adagio ult down, he knows it's perfectly safe. He could just walk up and clean people up at that point, because there's nothing that's going to stop that sustained damage coming through.
That's not how you want to take a fight. And from there, you know, Catherine just being focused so heavily allows Liege to have all the time in the world. As you were saying, he's so protected there in the back. It's very, very hard for you to, you know, tell your teammates, hey, let's switch heroes to Ringo. You could be like, Ringo, but, you know, Catherine's so low, maybe you want to get her now, and it just causes a lot of confusion in the team fight, and that's not really how you want to take it.
No, definitely not. Well, some more tankiness coming out. Spell starting to stack a little bit of armor here, considering that Vox sometimes does have to get into the middle of the fight to refresh his resonance and keep those bouncing auto attacks rolling. Meanwhile, just Sorrow Blade and a couple Blazing Salvos onto Plex on the opposite team, so...
Look at the build, actually, out of Liege. He has a lot of defense, a Metal Jacket, and an Aegis. So a ton of
that's surprising.
Just resistance across the board, but he's also got the Sorrow Blade, the Breaking Point, so over time, he can survive for a very long time and get that buff.
Yeah, also going to be... Oh, and Liege is caught out, but you're not going to do much to him. He's just kiting it right now. Does enough damage that Plex will be the first to fall. Meanwhile, Vaga and Spell going at it. Vox versus Vox, and Vaga falls second, but that is going to be a 2-for-1 trade. Can they get more? Liege wants to pursue this. Achilles shot. Will the slow be enough? There's the boots, followed by the merciless pursuit from Dista onto Galaxy, and if...
The mistouch, Monty,
oh, no.
The mistouch.
The mistouch comes through from Liege. But you were talking about the build onto Ringo, and this is really interesting because he's going to go for the Serpent Mask here, so he's more sustain in the end. Yeah. So Liege is playing a very interesting in-your-face Ringo build defense, but considering he's been at melee range in a lot of these fights, it makes sense for his playstyle.
Yeah, he's just sitting down there. He's saying, I have enough damage, especially with the Breaking Point, over time, especially as it does build up. But yeah, I like it so far. It's definitely very different. You were noting that one of the fun things about this game is how you can build many different heroes in a variety of different ways.
Yeah, it's definitely. I like how, as a player too, you can really show off your playstyle. Liege playing a very different style of Ringo than we saw, say, Araki Zoro in our last game. And we are going to have a bit of a pause here.
His phone ran out of battery.
That would be an absolutely disastrous thing to occur. You know what, Valdez? I think that I would just constantly play with a battery pack in my phone just to make extra sure that we weren't going to have any issues. Maybe it would just overheat or something. I'm not sure. It didn't actually run out of battery, just to clarify, but not exactly sure what happened. But it's kind of funny. I think we're going to jump back into the game right away, though. Yeah, we are. Maybe you got a text or something. Well, right now, we do have Raid up by about 3.5K, so a nice lead, but by no means insurmountable with the proper play from Hack. Mm-hmm. But I think the surprise thing is, really, for me, like, Vaga's just been outclassed by Liege in lane so hard in this game. Yeah, it's a big difference. The lane hero, very, very important. And as you were saying before, Vox, he takes a long time to ramp up and actually become a big part of this game. He's getting there. This is one of the longest games we've had amongst all the pauses as well. We're up to 22 minutes, 25 seconds. Certainly shorter than our last 14-minute game, ending
yeah.
before the Kraken even spawns. This time it's taking a long time for anybody to get the Kraken, a bit surprisingly.
Yeah, no Kraken just yet.
Vaga actually going with a Frostburn now as his next item completion, so really wants to get a lot of that slow because, of course, he does just have these autos that bounce around in the enemy team. You can't just mass slow the enemy team with a lot of his AoE. It's a nice item to have if you just want to lock people down in these team fights. And, you know, that really has to be the goal. If we look at these two, you want to set up, with the Dodgeo, you want to get the Gift of Fire onto people to set up the massive stun from the Verse of Judgment. That's got to be the goal. And the Frostburn helps you position on the Vox in order to hit that.
You just get that mass slow, get everybody together, and slow down in one place so that Verse of Judgment can come down. So the wait for it, even out of Vox, can come down. The wait for it, the ultimate ability, which does silence everybody after you wait for it.
Yeah,
funnily enough. But it's a nice idea. I like the composition. They've got a lot of silence, a lot of stuns, a lot of slows. Kind of a hard composition to deal with, but so far the Ringo has been the big guy in every single game. I don't know how you can't pick him at this point.
Yeah. The melee range Ringo a little bit more unique, you gotta say.
Yeah, that's true. Now just pushing up the lane as 3 here, Hack.
Okay, well, Dista just looking to see what he can find, and there's a flare gun in the brush. We'll see. The members of Hack, so don't have to worry so much about that. Will they clear out this scout trap so they can deal with that eventually? And yeah, looks like Dista is going for that clockwork. It's generally an item we see on Catherine just for the massive amount of cooldown acceleration that it gives you. You really do want that Merciless Pursuit up as much as you can. Her ability to stun is really why you get Catherine.
Yeah. It's not the shield. That's not the reason why you get Catherine. Although it is nice, a bit of utility in your kit. But yeah, I'm loving the Catherine play out of a lot of the teams here today after that bug fix with her stun. Always lands now.
Yeah, I'm interested to see on the other side with Galaxy. He's decided to overdrive her A and her B abilities, and you know this is interesting because you do get a longer silence if you overdrive her ult, the Blast Tremor, but the overdrive on the shield gives you double damage over time. It's like a massive increase to the damage over time. So looking to stick around in some of these team fights, and that kind of goes with the more sustained slow damage. Keep everybody slowed, and you're going to maximize the AoE from the Storm Guard too. So interesting synergy. Opening up with that Hellfire Brew. Looks like they're committing to this little bit of a fight. Plex stunned on the backline. How much damage is he going to get out? Meanwhile, Galaxy just trying to peel for Plex right now, but he is going to fall, and Hack has to retreat as Raid pushes on through. Liege trying to find Galaxy, but both players very low on energy. Meanwhile, the rest of Raid just going to focus right now, and they're going to delay the recall, and Liege will eventually get to Galaxy as they play Ring Around the Crumbling Wall.
This is so funny. What he's doing
Scout
now,
traps.
It does mean something. Like there's a reason he's doing this. It's to delay that ace buff.
Yes. Yes, it is. And will he actually delay it? I mean, he has to do this for 20 more seconds. Meanwhile, his entire base is dying, so Liege doing a good job of making sure that there's no recall and absolutely no defense. And there it goes, Vein Crystal down. Raid is going to take the win here in 25 minutes.
Yeah, very nicely done. The Vainglorious tier out of Pack did not help him this time. We'll see in the future.
It didn't at all. It wasn't as crisp as some of the other games, which is to be expected. These were not teams that were at the Worldwide Invitational, but Raid really with a very commanding lead throughout that game, and Liege playing a very different style of Ringo, the one that wants to be in the middle of that fight, building a lot of defensive stats, building some lifesteal, and just looking to do damage over time. And it really played out well because of how good Liege was at animation canceling, so he could just maximize that damage in the fights.
Ringo is one of the, how do I put this? He's one of the heroes that if you get really good at mechanics in Vainglory, he's one of the best. He just like scales so well with your mechanical skill, for sure, and definitely one of the top tier heroes here in Vainglory. Kind of curious that Hack did not pick it up, but maybe they'll learn from their mistakes in the future. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we'll see. We may see a lot of Ringo in this tournament. I'm a bit surprised that we've been seeing kind of some weirder bans as opposed to Ringo, because he does seem very dominant, including like Scarf and Glaive.
Yeah,
a little bit different.
Well, let's see who the man of the match is. It's going to be Liege.
Yeah, unsurprisingly, absolutely unsurprisingly, for him to get it, our second Ringo player in a row to snag that award after Araki 0 got it in our second game. And that, of course, means we are going to be going to an interview with Liege, and that will be translated by Jae Song once we get him over to the interview area. Wow, his CS differential was huge, 234 to 166. He was up 5,000 gold on his opponent, Vaga.
Pretty huge. That was a long game as well, allowing him to get that many creeps.